Hey guys, Icy Cat here once again. This time we're taking a closer look at Grimsky's newest defensive operator, Clash. We'll go over her loadout, special ability, as well as tips and tricks so you can get the most out of her next. Clash is the newest defensive operator for Operation Grimsky, and also has the distinction of being the first defender that's also a shield operator. Like her attacker shield counterparts, she's a slow-moving, 1-speed, 3-armor operator. Let's take a look at her loadout. Her shield is actually considered her primary weapon. It's the only shield in the game so far that can actually cause damage as a function of its ability, as listed here, causing 3 points per hit. We'll spend the bulk of the video taking a closer look at it. Her secondaries are how you're going to actually cause any significant damage to the enemy team. First up is the P10C handgun. It does 40 damage with a magazine capacity of 15. It's a well-rounded semi-automatic pistol and has a built-in optical sight. Paired with a muzzle brake for accuracy, this will have pretty decent groupings. Her other secondary option, it's technically a machine pistol or pocket SMG as it fires a 2-round burst, and does 30 damage with a 20-round capacity in its magazine. It also uses a pre-attached sight. Use whatever barrel attachment works best for you. Lasers are optional on either gun, but less important than other shield operators, as Clash does not have the ability to hip-fire her secondary while using a shield like Blitz or Monty can. Secondary gadgets will be a choice between barbed wire or impact grenades. There's no distinct advantage to using one over the other with the rest of her loadout, and just comes down to personal preference and playstyle. As mentioned before, Clash is the first defensive shield operator in the game. She shares some similarities to Monty, but also has some significant differences as well. Her shield is fully expandable just like his, but that's where things end. First of all, her shield is completely transparent, pairing up with a roamer, and you can use her almost like a mobile mirror window, seeing the enemy while safely behind bulletproof cover. The challenge comes in moving together and maintaining that safety, because your cover can move unexpectedly, which would leave you vulnerable, so communication is going to be key. It doesn't matter what you throw at it. Rapid fire, heavy caliber sniper rounds, even point blank shotguns. It is completely bulletproof. Now that's something that can come in handy for plugging up holes. Anything from openings caused by Maverick's blowtorch to open mirror windows, having Clash fill that hole can deny a newly opened sightline. Another key difference between her and other shield operators is that she cannot do a shield bash melee attack. This can leave her very vulnerable when operators get up in her face, because another glaring difference between her and Monty is that while fully extended, you can't do much about his shield, but if you hit Clash with a melee attack, it actually knocks her extended shield out of position for a couple of seconds, leaving the entire side of her body pretty vulnerable. Turning rapidly doesn't do a whole lot to counter it either, as you're just sort of swapping exposed areas of the body for other areas of exposure if you do. Not to say it couldn't ever save you, but it could also just as easily do nothing or open up an even easier shot against you. Earlier, we were talking about how her shield can actually do those 3 points of ranged damage, and that's where her shield's special ability comes into play. She can electrically shock people at a distance of about 12 meters. Also, it doesn't matter if she's facing off with another shield. It does not insulate them from the stun effect. There's pretty subtle visual feedback when you hit a target. They'll sort of clench up a little bit in their stance, and if they're sprinting, they will be forced into a slow walking speed while they're being shocked. Additionally, you might notice some very subtle blue sparks on the target, though these seem somewhat inconsistent if they show up or not. When things are moving quickly in the heat of combat, these signs can actually be kind of easy to miss, resulting in you sometimes not being 100% sure if you're actually landing your shock hits or not, and feels kind of unsatisfying to use. Much like trying to get used to an electric car and second-guessing yourself if the engine is really on or not. Now on the shield itself, you'll notice the capacitors on either side of the central view panel light up and discharge, as well as occasional electrical arcs coming out of it. One interesting thing about her stun is that it can actually affect more than one target at a time if they're close enough. If your targets are within a meter or so of each other to either side, they will be affected as well. You'll also stun attackers that are behind the target as long as it's within that 12-meter stun range of effect. You can hold the stun button down for continuous effect, and you see the charge meter in the bottom corner depleting when you do. It will automatically recharge when you stop, but takes a bit longer if you run it completely dry with repeated use in short order. Not being able to use any gun at all while using the shield is a major drawback on her if you find yourself alone, as you will be quickly outgunned and surrounded. Once they get in melee range, you're done for. To make up for that, she has a relatively quick weapon firing time out of the shield swap, but you are still left vulnerable for a second or two while you do, and you can easily get shot while in mid-animation. When using a gun, her shield is secured on her back in a collapsed state, and does basically create bulletproof back armor in that case, though uncovered areas on the rear of the character model remain vulnerable to being shot. As you can see here, it's handy for something like dealing with the bomb diffuser, but lining up a headshot will still put an end to those efforts. Speaking of diffusing the bomb, the stun effect will not cancel animations like an Echo Blast would. The electrical discharge also will not destroy any drones or anything at all. The only thing it will do other than the 3 points of damage is to slow people down. Anyone sprinting is forced into a slow walk speed. This effect can be slightly increased when going through barbed wire while being stunned, and can be a useful reason to take that as her secondary gadget. Be careful when using her impact grenades though, as the hole it creates is wider than she can fill with the extended shield, leaving gaps on the sides. One technique you can use is to do a partial impact on a wall. By spreading most of the blast against an unbreakable surface, you're left with a much smaller hole that she can completely block while still being able to see what's happening on the other side. When extended, the shield can be used to block vaults into windows and also block repels, causing them to just sort of bounce off of her shield. But there's nothing stopping them from hitting you with a melee and looking for that vulnerability gap when you're face to face like that. If the shield is not extended and it's on your back but you're up against the window, you'll still block shots, but they can vault right through you as if you weren't even there. This also happens with drones. Initially, I assumed she might be able to block a drone hole or do so when standing in a doorway, but unfortunately they decided to allow drones to pass right through the shield. Her shield does have excellent resistance to explosives and functions just like Monty in that regard. Any explosive going off in front of her shield will result in slight to moderate damage depending on the device used, but is very survivable unless you're at low health already. While fully extended, you can walk right into a claymore and still have plenty of health left over if you were at full health to begin with. You can even use this on window hop-outs, where attackers will put claymores outside of windows. In that case, just have the shield on your back, and when you hop out, face away from the claymore so the shield on your back takes the blast. You'll still get damage moderately, but it won't result in an instant kill. Remember that just like Monty, she'll take the full explosive damage if you manage to get an explosive round around her shield. If you're trying to engage her as someone like Ash, a direct hit to her shield will cause it to just bounce off like a dud and not detonate. Firing it into a breachable surface around or behind the shield will result in partial or full damage respectively. Zofia, on the other hand, can cause some pretty direct havoc against her shield, especially with the stun rounds. Being hit with these results in the same kind of reaction as being hit with a melee strike does, which causes her to expose the side of her body behind the shield for a few seconds. The explosive rounds will detonate against her shield and affect her just like any other explosive, with reduced damage in front and full damage if the detonation occurs behind the shield. Thatcher manages to be a decent counter to Clash with his EMP grenades, and will stop her from being able to stun for quite a while. As you can see here, the stun stops and you get a message on screen saying it's disabled. I'm holding down that fire button until the effect clears, and it persists for quite a while before I'm able to re-engage it. Another operator that can really wreck her day is Capitao. His area of effect will drain her health rapidly, and since she's a slow mover with that shield, she can definitely take some heavy damage before managing to get out of the way. He's probably her most direct counter for that reason. IQ can track Clash very effectively whenever the shield is in use, as the entire thing lights up like a Christmas tree. This only shows up when the stun effect is actively being engaged though. It does not show up the rest of the time if she isn't actually using the stun, which is a little strange since the shield does have a battery even when it's not being fired, and should have at least a smaller signature when it's not in use. Clash can fill a variety of roles. She can be a strong anchor support defending the objective, or she can be paired with an aggressive player as roamer support and mobile cover. She can harass players approaching the building by watching them from safety, at least until they get closer, and she can effectively shut down partial lines of sight that have been breached open. She is, however, pretty weak on her own without support. She can work a 1v1 well enough if she needs to, but she can be quickly overpowered by 2 or more players working together, and if anyone gets in melee range, there's not really going to be much she can do to stop it other than a quick weapon switch to a pistol, and hope she's faster than her opponent on the reaction. She's definitely not going to be for everyone. This is especially true given how easily her shield is swatted out of the way, and that she has no real offensive option when using the shield like Blitz and Monty do. Some people may find themselves easily frustrated by her, especially if they aren't getting the teammate backup she really needs to round her out. But if you can communicate well and your teammates really work with you instead of leaving you all by yourself, then she can really create some strong defensive options that will frustrate and shut down the attacking team. That wraps up our look at Clash. I'll be taking a closer look at some of the other elements of Operation Grim Sky over the coming days, so if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Make sure you click that notification icon so you're alerted as soon as I make new content available. You can also follow me at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.